Alrighty then. Hold on. Sorry, I gotta get on my Facebook and get everything popping. Alright, I'm gonna be painting for a little bit, so don't mind me. Welcome to another episode. I'm working on a little file that I was making following Jan Ursul's tutorial. So just to give you a little update, that's what it looks like. And I'll show you what it has so far. I was painting it. Yo, what's up, Darnell? What's going on, bro? I am tired. So there might be a power outage in California. In my area, specifically the Bay Area, so I may not have power tomorrow or for a few days. So if that happens, I may not be streaming anyway, which kind of fucking sucks. But I'm sure I'll figure out something in the meantime. I still haven't figured out a good time yet, but it is what it is. So anyways, that's the render that I made, kind of following Jan's tutorial and kind of adding my own stuff to it. And yeah, pretty much pretty simple scene that I'm kind of painting over. So that's what the scene looks like. This is what I've been working on thus far. Just kind of painting in clouds, figuring out like, you know, where I want to put things and whatnot. So I'm slowly just moving stuff around. And so again, we're kind of using move, scale, rotate things right now, just to kind of see what we can get out of it and kind of go from there. So I'm just going to add some outer glow to some things, and because I want there to be a little bit of there we go. I want it to be a little bit more of a bluer color. So let's gotta find, there we go. I think that's what we're kind of looking for in general. And I can always mess with it later, so I'm not too worried about it. But I do want to actually, I don't know if the blending mode is the best one because it's color dodge. So I guess normal is probably the best. And whoops, sorry, outer glow. That's what I wanted, sorry. Color dodge. So opacity. So maybe not that. Alright, maybe we do, so I guess maybe screen is probably the best one. So yeah, we'll separate that and then we'll create the layer so that it just creates it behind it, and then we can easily take that color, and if we want to, we can add more to it. But I gotta find out the actual color of it by itself, which is that, because it's at 35%. So let's turn it to 100. Okay, so that's the color. And then go back to where it was. So that's on the outside. And I probably want to do a little bit of a blur, a motion blur, to go upward with it. I got an angle. There you go. I think that would be cool. And we'll just kind of turn this on a little bit. And then we can erase. So it creates a little bit of like a interesting effect there. But on the top of this guy, we probably do want to take like that color and make it a little bit brighter and see if we can kind of soften up that edge a little bit. So it kind of creates that kind of like Destiny-esque kind of thing. This is what I'm going for. I'm not sure if it's gonna necessarily work. Alright. I'll kind of just paint that out, but we probably do need, there you go. And if worse comes to worse, I can always just erase in certain areas. Like, I don't want to paint it like 100% right now, because then if I do that now, then I won't have, I don't want to merge it, pretty much is what I'm saying. So eventually I do want to merge it down, so that way I can get like the proper, you know, like that kind of stuff going. So I have choices to make, essentially. Because I want to go on the edge of it. Like, I feel like I just need to blur that edge too. You know what? Let's do that. Blur, motion blur. No, Gaussian blur. I just don't like how, maybe 1.5? So I'm hitting the, what was the Gaussian blur just now? Oh, that's why. There you go. Alright. So all this other stuff, I guess we can worry about that later, like getting that blur on there. So I don't want to spend too much time on it. So we shall see. Alright, we should probably work on the other stuff. Like I haven't done this part yet, so we should probably do that part. And I bet you I could probably soften up this guy a little bit. Like the texture's too much right now, so I probably need to blur it just a little bit. And hopefully by blurring the texture, it will then appear further away. If I kind of just mess with that contrast a little bit. At least that's the way I'm thinking about it. I don't know if this is gonna actually work, but I do need to kind of soften up those layers a little bit more. All right. I don't know why the hell this is still here. I don't know why that's still there. There you go. Maybe it will help if I see this. I'm gonna pull my screen towards my face more so I can like be in it. And don't want to uncolor dodge. Let's see. So I have to make sure I'm like married to this shape, because right now I'm not sure. Of course, my rotation's not working. So let's fix that. There we go. So unplug it, plug it back in. So I'm going with more kind of like chunkier clouds. It's more of a stylistic choice, if anything, but we'll see how it goes. Hold on a second. I gotta make sure DoorDash allow. Did DoorDash get my order? Sorry. I'm trying to order food because for my wife, because she didn't feel like cooking today. Okay, yeah, it confirmed it. Sweet. Sorry, on my other thing here. Alright, let's pan the order. I like that. Alright, let's go back to the task at hand. So yeah, I gotta get this going. And then, yeah, once I figure out the whole soccer schedule thing, which I said I've been doing for weeks now, but I really gotta figure out a time. What the hell is that? What the hell is that? Oh, it's from the planet from before. Okay. That's interesting. I didn't know that that's a way you could fix it. That's something new. That's cool. Sorry, I gotta click.
So we shall see.
That's a way you could fix it. Sorry, I'm on my what do you call it? My Facebook, just to make sure things are working correctly. Okay, back to the paint. So yeah, I just got oops, painting on the wrong layer, like a noob. All right. Okay, I need this value, so I'm gonna put that there as a placeholder. All right, cool. I think that's good enough. Now let's like block this stuff in. Don't need that. What we do need is this. And that is better served with a harder brush. And then we can simply just kind of blend those edges out. Yeah, not too bad. Okay, there we go. I like that. Let's see. I've really been loving that brush you got. I love how you don't have to switch brushes. You can just press hard for blocking and softer for texture. Yep, that's probably the only good thing I've like figured out in a long time. And I forget where I got that brush too. I forget whose brush it is, but then I took it and then I was like, all right, this brush is dope, but it can be doper if I just put this dynamics on it. And to this day, I gotta figure out who I thank for that brush, but that's like the only one that I like to use nowadays, to be honest. It's like my go-to for anything, especially when I'm kind of doing stuff in my particular, I guess, style, if you even want to use that word. Or if I paint things that are like more simple, like not like kind of matte painty, but when I like to paint things that are like kind of painterly, that have a little bit of that kind of texture, it's definitely like a go-to for me. Like I definitely like that brush. All right, so looking good there. So I'm kind of, I hate these little artifacts that you get when I have to like kind of sample some things out, but that's part of the game. So we're gonna have to just live with that. Now I need to find a cooler value, cooler, darker value. There we go. Let's see if we can't paint over that. Yeah, I guess we can. I guess that does work. In general. Alright. What else is going on here? Sorry, I'm just checking stuff, just making sure I'm good on all the channels as I'm trying to figure this out. Alright, so this one I definitely want to like darken the whole thing. Oh, and there's little pieces right here. that I don't need. So maybe what I can do actually is, so that's the one thing I haven't figured out actually in Blender, is that when you render it out, it won't give you the clown render for this because it's a displacement map. So the displacement map won't show up. So I gotta figure out how do you get it to do that when you render it out, because that's kind of important. And just now I just tried Daniel's thing of just going to the eraser button and then exiting it out, and it worked flawlessly. So appreciate that. So I definitely though want this to kind of have a nicer graphical read here. Okay, cool. So I want it to be a little bit darker, just in general. Well, plus I don't want the contrast. And I can always erase like from it a little bit. That's kind of the game plan here, is to kind of just erase a little bit as we go back up. So I just gotta find like that happy medium of like how much I'm willing to kind of like paint over it. And to be honest, I don't know where that happy medium is. So I feel like I need to kind of take some of these darker colors here. Maybe that darker. Yeah, I think that's the color that I probably would want to kind of come through. I didn't really get the lighting that I wanted from the cycles, but it definitely got me pretty far in general. So I'm pretty, like, I'm satisfied with it in terms of like where it got me. Cool, there you go. Not too bad. I'm probably gonna need to erase a little bit here so some of these shapes can feel a little bit stronger. I want to create a little more sexier angles here. Because it's a displacement map, like, it's very, very random. So I had to kind of sit there and like rotate things until I got the angle that I was comfortable with. There you go. So stuff that probably doesn't seem like it's a big deal, but I don't know. I'm a stickler for it, and it will probably bother me if I don't at least try to attempt to fix it. Oh, that's kind of a nice little angle there too. Let's see. I mean, there's all kinds of brushes I could use to kind of erase to create that gradation, but I guess we'll roll with this for now. And then I definitely want to soften up these this edge here. So I'll probably even just get rid of this whole edge in general, so it just kind of comes straight. I don't like it going like in that direction. And I can always bring it back. That's why painting in a non-destructive manner can be pretty helpful. Because now if I want to really kind of refine some of those angles, I now have the option, which is always good. So the guy I was following is Jan Ursel. He has a Patreon. I guess we can go to it right now. So shout outs to him. Let's see. There we go. I'm on my other screen here. Just give me a second. So Jan Ursel Patreon. I don't know if I'm saying his last name correctly, so I apologize if that's the case. So yeah, it's just $10, I think. And anyways, it's like procedural landscapes, so it's pretty cool. Actually, let's just go to his ArtStation real quick, because his ArtStation he actually like does it. He talks about it. So I don't know why my internet is so slow today for whatever reason. Probably because I'm doing all this stuff from it, and then I was like, well, then how do I, make that better essentially, or make it more kind of fit to like what I want to do? So there's that. So that was the goal there, yeah. So so as you can see, if I move this, you know what? I don't know what's going on here. Leave. There you go. So yeah, so you can see just kind of the resemblance already with some of the texturing and stuff like that, and it's all using nodes. So that's kind of the cool part about it, is that you don't need any textures. It's all literally, if I were to click on this, it's this whole freaking spider web clusterfuck of like of nodes that are kind of crazy, but each one of these things is like, you need it in order to create this essentially. So what's kind of cool about Blender and nodes in general, like Octane, is that you can if you know what the nodes do and you know like the general kind of like layout, then you can actually create some stuff. What I like to do actually is that I'll just like print screen this. I'll look at the people's nodes and I'll print screen it and I'll write it down. And then I know that like if I need to create like this kind of effect, I can just look at this and then just use it and then kind of just tweak it to where I need to. But I'm not the best at like understanding everything. Like I know the general idea, the flow of like using a node of like texture mapping. I know what they do, each one of them. But the problem is that like to remember all this on the fly, just create it, I totally can't do that. So what I do is I copy and paste it. I screen cap it, and then I write like, okay, like I would screen cap this and I would write like, mountain, snow mountain, like procedural texture. And so kind of like when you have like a brush set for your brushes that handle different ideas, I have like a node set where I just copy and paste all the nodes into a file and then I just have them. So then that way, if I ever need to do this again, instead of trying to remember all this crap, I can just go to that file, look at the screenshot, look at how it's organized, and then begin to do it myself. So that's kind of the idea there. And then obviously you got to use cycle if you want to risk it, because cycles can be pretty hard. And yeah, so there you go. That was pretty much how that came about. So but it only gets you so far, because eventually you're gonna want to like paint it and do your own thing, which is what I'm trying to do. I don't want to be like limited by it in a way. I want to just kind of have it give me ideas on how to work. So it should be something that helps you start that conversation a little bit more and begin to kind of paint something. So that's where I am. And then it gave me a clown render, but the problem is that displacement map, that's flat. So that becomes a problem right there, is because then you lose all that shit, and then that's like super annoying. So yep, that's the problem with the displacement map, which I haven't figured out yet. So what I want to do is probably finish out the clouds a little bit. So I started this a little bit after work, and so now I'm going to try to get some of the details down. And so, yeah. And so hopefully that answers Fernando's question about the shapes on the ground, because that is literally all 3D. That is literally all just that. And You can see it like such right here. And I think it's because I had this emission for whatever reason. Let me just delete that. So yeah, so that's all there, right? That's the shape that we're making. And so again, if I take any of these guys and I mess with the color ramp or the scale, let's say I made the scale, right? That's what happens. It can easily change the whole landscape in like 2 seconds, which is actually really, really cool. What just happened there. So it literally is just like math. Like you got to kind of play around with it and just find something that you want to mess with. You know what I mean? And so you can mess with the ramps. You can do all kinds of stuff. Like if you want to make it like less, right? Sky's the limit on like what you can do with the thing. So that's kind of the cool part about it, is that it's very, very interchangeable, but like it is a lot to remember. And I am not the person to remember all that crap. So, there you go. Yeah, so the problem is when you do it, it's in Workbench. So when you want to do your clown render, you got to do it in Workbench. And so you're not in cycles anymore. So I don't know how you would begin to get that in there. So there probably is a way, like there probably is totally a way to do it. I just don't know at this point, like how to get that going. And of course, Eevee makes everything super blown out. So cycles is definitely nice if your computer can handle it. That's the only thing. Is luckily I just bought a brand new computer, so the video cards are really, really nice. So, but for everybody else, it can definitely be kind of a rough one. You know what I mean? So, all right. Let's see here. Let's go back to this painting. It's not bad. I'm liking where it's at. I do have like another layer, I think, of I kind of drew it out. I do this a lot too. It's like I'll write out like my little notes of the cloud shapes that I want and stuff like that. Little silly things that aren't that, you know. I like this little bit of a haze kind of situation that kind of creates right there. So yeah, so that's kind of cool. Like I dig that. And then maybe I might even like, I'll try to kind of create some of those shapes as well, like in the... Cool. So I wanted to have like some blue like water or some shit like here. But I'm not sure how I'm gonna do it, to be honest. So I added in, by the way, like that, because it wasn't it was too flat for me, so that's what I added in there. But I don't know if I like it, to be honest. So I was imagining that to be a pool of water. And so I have that, or I can just like do it like that, you know what I mean? Like I want it to be like a pool, like some glowy alien shit, you know? So luckily the way that this was rendered, it already kind of fit like the way that I would paint like those kind of textures anyway, because I already have like a I already have a shape tool that kind of mimics that, because I like those kind of things. So, but it is kind of cool to know that like I could do that and then actually be able to rotate it and stuff like that. So, like that's kind of cool in a sense as well. So what I could do right now is like really work out like the shape of the water and stuff like that. Because I don't want it to feel like it's too like 3D. You want to kind of be hard to tell in a way, which isn't always like the most important thing, but you want to make it feel like it's rendered in a certain way, or you can't really tell which way it's rendered. So like that already creates like a really interesting situation there, you know what I mean? Or do I just like sample it, you know what I mean? I could just sample that. Of course, we don't want it everywhere. So yeah, that's the hard part right now. I'm not sure if I really want to do that. Because in my head, I want it to be like this kind of glowy stuff, like in there. So, I mean, maybe I just stick with that though. I don't know. Or maybe I make the pink stuff kind of glowy. So I'm not really sure. Like this is the part where like I didn't really think it through all the way, and now I'm kind of like regretting it a little bit. I do know that it needs to be like darker in the background as well, so I gotta figure out that part too. So like it needs to be a little bit darker back here so it can kind of make sense like lighting wise and stuff. So, and I want there to be a little bit of like a glow on the edges and stuff too. So maybe I can start figuring that part out. Is like figuring out the glowy areas, which is easy because all you got to do is just do that, right? So maybe we want to get that a little bit more of like a lighter, cooler value. So that could work. I don't know. So I do like the idea of me just making it like a little bit. A little bit cooler in those areas. So I do like that idea. So, I mean, I guess I could pretty much kind of just do that and I would be done with it. But it would be nice to get some more texture on the bottom of the ground here. And at the same time, maybe I do want to kind of like fix some of the texture here. Because you don't... You want some of this to kind of like flow nicely. So, I don't know. To be honest, I really don't know. So maybe what we can do... So we get this brush here, and we can begin to kind of just throw in a little bit of like a little more graphical reads here. So by kind of like making some of these a little bit more hard-edged here, you know what I mean? Like, that could totally work. But everything else looks rather nice. Except for that right there. Let's not do that. Are we getting rid of it? No. What's going on? Okay, there we go. And then I may want to put some like lines here. Just a little bit of lines, little cut lines. I think that's always nice to kind of have. But we'll see. See, it's kind of cool. It's like super contrasty. Like, but I wonder if it's worth even. I wonder if it's like a good idea to have like a little bit of like a multiply layer on the ground, like that, to kind of show a little bit of distance. That's what I'm wondering, is like the thing right now. So if I do that, right, if I push that in there, like, is that a good idea to have that on a multiply and darkens it out? Right now I don't like it. It creates a little interesting vignette, which I'm cool with, but I'm more down with it being like in these corners here, if anything, than having it here. Like, I want the light to be like right in here. So maybe we'll delete that, and then we'll just do that one more time. Whoops. Yeah, so you want that glowy, the glowy bits there. And then we'll delete this for now. So we'll keep, I think we'll keep, no, we don't want that either. So I did it on the wrong layer. Oh, I gotta start over. That's lame. Okay, so all right, we can keep that. We'll keep that, and then what else can we do? We can kind of move this around. Like, there's got to be a nice flow. This is like the hardest part that I hate to do, by the way, because it's like I really want this to flow nicely. Let's see. Jazz is saying, stop your stream, come to Apex. I got 12 minutes, so give me some time. Let me write to him real quick on my other screen. Move it. Okay, let's see. I should paint this guy up. Let the texture there. Okay, so what we'll have to do here is boom. Okay, yeah, so we'll get rid of this. We'll just start over here. So let's just work our way from the front to the back, I think is a better idea to move here. It's a better move. So let's get rid of this guy. And then we can paint this on a multiply layer, I think. So on a multiply layer, what we're aiming to do here is going to make it a little bit cooler. Yeah, there we go. Cool. So this might be helpful in kind of getting a little bit more form in certain areas by putting it on multiply. and then obviously like erasing in certain areas where I feel like I can get more out of it. Let's see. Okay. Sorry, my Apex crew is like, yo, get on here and play Apex, which I'm not opposed to. I just need to finish this because I had a good vibe with it. I had a good, like, when I finished work today, when I was done with my studio work, I was working on it and it felt good. Well, that's good. Let's see. So you want to know how do I juggle layers? Is that what you're saying? Let me see this real quick. Can you go over your uses of layer types when painting environments? I'd love to use them, but I hate to juggle the layers. I only use a few. I'll use like, you know, multiply. Like the only thing you really need to know is like the basic organization of layers. So anything that's here are all dark, are all like to make things darker. Everything here is to make things lighter. And everything here is for like overlaying stuff. And then these ones are like hue saturation. And then this one is like weird stuff right there. So if I want to make something darker, then you just want to work on this first one. So they're all organized. If you look at the categories, like the little boxes, right? It's like a box right here, a box right there. They all are like organized according to like their like overall like output. So the output would be essentially like darken, lighten, and then like overlaying. So that's kind of the way. There's never like a set way to ever do anything with like any kind of like texturing. You just need to know like you just need to ask yourself like, what do I want the texture to do? Do I want to make it lighter? Do I want to make it darker? Like, do I want to actually like mess with the values? Do I want the values to change? Do I not want them to change? And then usually you can at least probably guess like what would be the best like the best thing for you to use. So it shouldn't be like that complicated in general. Because more times than not, too, if you're like even worried about it, just use your middle mouse and just scroll through the wheel. Because that's what I do too sometimes too. Is I'll just kind of like play the game of roulette and be like, all right, let's see if like any of these work. And then eventually one does work, and you're like, well, why does this work? And you're like, well, I have no clue, but I'm not asking questions, so we're gonna roll with it. And then you just kind of do that. So there's that way of working too. If you're like really unsure. But in general, it's good to kind of know like what they do or like what's the point of them. And so you want to start big and then work your way to individually. So to start with the groups of them, and then maybe once you start to kind of understand like what they do in terms of a group, then go to like each individual one, just try things out until you find something that works for you. So that is my advice in terms of using them. And then the next advice is just to color code your stuff too. I use the color layer system as well. Like I use it a lot actually at work, and it's pretty helpful. Like especially if you have a lot of layers. It can be like a game changer. So if you know a layer is going to be important, just right click and make it red. Like then automatically I know like that's an important layer because I'll probably forget later on. And so then I just go back to it later and just go, yeah, I need to like fix that. Or I need to like, you know, do something with it. I made a hole there and I actually don't like it. So maybe I can just paint it out. Okay, there we go. Not too bad. There you go. Nice. All right. It's almost like it wasn't there. Cool. And then I still don't know if this is gonna work, so maybe I just lower the opacity of it. Or I could even make it like super, super dark too. Maybe that's what I do. Maybe I just go like super graphic with it. Yeah, it's a lot of experimenting, man. There's no like, there's no go-to with it. Because there are some like things that people like swear by in terms of like, oh, like I use this blending mode, and I'm like, I look at it and I'm like, why would you ever want to use that? So like blending modes are as much as like a preference as like brushes are, in my opinion. Sometimes like there isn't like one thing to kind of rule them all. Yeah, you know what? Maybe I just see. I'm still not getting it, and that's where that becomes super frustrating a little bit. Is that I'm not getting some of those lines. So I'm like, do I have to kind of go in there and really like draw these out? But I mean, if maybe I should just trust the 3D here a little bit, because and just not have any shadows, because it does look interesting. Like, so there's that part too. Like, I'm not sure if I really want to throw that in there. So I think instead what I'll do now is I will just probably just paint directly onto it. I'm going to keep the values as is, and I'm just going to mess with the shape language here. I don't think I should try to mess with this, especially because it's already given me so much that like there's no point in me trying to kind of like mess too much with it. So if anything, what I want to do is kind of just make some things a little more sexier here and there. Some of these little shapes right here, some of these little pieces. If I feel like I don't need anything, then I'll just kind of paint over it, you know. So just simplifying some things can also go a long way too. So maybe instead, you know, we kind of just have some of these things kind of go down. So that way, just kind of simplifying some of those strokes, I think will be good, because it might get a little bit too distracting. So at least that's like my thought process here. Is like, how do I simplify some of these strokes a little bit to kind of make it look nicer. Yeah, it sucks when you don't have when you can't do like kind of destructive stuff. So let's see. I'll make a new layer here. Let's drag this and then we'll call it done. Actually. So at least you got to see like kind of like more like that last kind of like 80% kind of situation, because most of it was kind of done already. I'm just painting clouds, to be honest. Like, it's not even that hard. But it's good practice for me, at least, because I have to find a way to make this a part of my workflow a little bit more effectively. So like doing these streams or doing these little things where I kind of like, I might throw away the image right away, you know, is like helpful for me. And doing the streams in general, I think, are helpful, because then it forces me to kind of like try things out and not care so much either. So I still want to keep that glow on there. some of those nice edges. Cool. And let's see. We definitely need to throw in a little bit more of like a haze. But not too much. So we just gotta find like that happy medium. There you go. And then maybe we gotta throw in a little bit more of like a that's cool. All right, let's see what we got going here. Yeah, I think that's gonna be it for the session. So I got the food's coming in right now from the DoorDash, so I think that's gonna be it for me, gentlemen. But yeah, hopefully you got to see the process. I'll probably finish this up tonight, probably a little bit, and I'll post it. And shout out to Jan Ursel for the Patreon stuff. Go check out his shit if you can, because it's pretty helpful. And yeah, I'll finish this guy up. So thank you all for coming through. I very much appreciate it. And yeah, if you're in Cali, just make sure you get your power. Make sure you go get your water, do all that stuff. And I'll see you on Thursday, so this will know one time. So anyways, guys, take care. Thanks for coming by. Appreciate it. I'll see you when I see you guys. All right. Peace out.